Why is it that no one teaches ground and pound? It bothers me that there's no teaching going on formally of ground and pound. You got jiu-jitsu guys, phenomenal on the ground, they can't break an egg. They stand up and try to pass. The guy's gonna stand right up from out from under you. You need to learn how to ground and pound. You need to learn how to misdirect your opponent's feet. You need to learn how to land devastating ground and pound with pressure. And that's what we're getting into today with brown belt world champion Ronnie Hosney. Full guard position with my opponent. First thing I start doing is I start posting the leg. So I keep my hands at the inside of his biceps, I post a single leg. This is gonna give me the ability to use my same side hand to land devastating ground and pound. I start landing my shots, misdirecting my head. I go back to inside position. In the event that he lets go and opens his guard, which some guys will do because they wanna scramble out from under me, I immediately take a standing position. From the standing position, my opponent will typically put his feet on my hips, right? This is pretty common. The guy kicks off of you and he uses that to get out from underneath you. No one's inverting, no one's using K-guard in MMA. They should be, but they're not doing it yet. So when he kicks my hips, I control, I keep my hips in, I keep a low stance. Why don't I lean forward? Because he's gonna Oleg Taktara me.
And Gracie delivers the kick and he's
All right, he's gonna Renzo Gracie Oleg Taktara right to the face.
ouch!
So I keep my hips in. As he kicks, I step back and I create a flank angle. From this flank angle, I drop my knees to the ground and I land a hard right hand. If he goes to turn away from me, I put a wedge with my right elbow on the outside of his hip. Should say on the bottom hip of my right elbow, so I'm blocking his ability to turn out away from me. He then gives me back exposure. If I want to take his back, I can take his back. If he builds up to his elbow, which he will, I'll go inside wrist. I'll break him down to his shoulder. From here, we swish our feet to the inside. We step through to what would be considered half guard. We sit on his leg. We drop our hips, and we can deliver horrible, horrible ground and pound until this guy's out of there. So let's get into the details again. Close guard, you will find yourself in this position if you're fighting. Now, delivering leveraged ground and pound requires a post leg. That's just the way that it is. So if you want to do any form of damage, you have to start posting the leg. From here, I elevate my elbow and I offset my head. I can also drop my knee to double up on that leverage, but I always go back to inside position. So I post the leg, inside position. Now let's say he doesn't open his guard and I want to stand up, not a problem. I post, I swish her one foot, I square, and I stand. Eventually, he's going to open his guard to scramble. As he does this, I don't stay head above my hips, past my hips. I'm off balance here. I want to immediately drive my hips forward and control his 2 feet. So now when he kicks off me, first of all, he's not going to have a lot of leverage in doing so. But it also affords me the ability to avoid getting kicked in my head. I can then backstep, clear. From here, I drop, hard shot, elbow to the hip, back exposure. Most MMA guys don't take the back efficiently, but the back is there. If he builds up to an elbow, I can go inside wrist, both my hands, tying up my opponent's bottom arm. With the flaring of my elbow and a driving towards his far side shoulder, I can then force his head to the ground, which then enables me to step my right leg over, to back heel in between his 2 legs, centering my right knee in between his 2 legs, figure 4ing my legs, dropping my hips on top of his. The rest is history. CTE, devastating ground and pound from the top position. I have a Patreon account. It's linked below. You can check it out if you want. It gives you exclusive content. You're not going to see what I show on Instagram. What am I talking about? Saying words. The stuff on YouTube, you're not going to see on Patreon and vice versa. Patreon's exclusive. If you want exclusive stuff, you go to Patreon. If you want the general public stuff, you stay here on YouTube, and that's fine too. I'll show them it one more time. So, this is important, okay? I'm not promising you that he's going to open his guard, but if you're delivering devastating ground and pound, you might consider it because he's just sitting here getting ground and pound. He wants to get out from underneath you. MMA guys want to get out, so if he opens his guard, I stand up, my hips come forward, right? My head goes back, and I'm sitting on my haunches. As he kicks, I misdirect, boom, hard shot. Follow his hips with your elbow, which prevents him from going belly down, and then go double inside wrist. Okay, you've seen Khabib do this, make a career out of it. He flares, he swishes his feet, he steps through. Beautiful. Subscribe. Now another thing, make sure you subscribe. Another thing you can do, he's on his elbow. If I don't feel confident stepping over, I can go claw with my right arm, slide my left knee behind my left elbow, sit to his back. Now I'm in a position where I can take my opponent's back. That was a bonus. So you have back exposure. If you want back exposure, double inside wrist, ground and pound, CTE, okay? It's up to you what you want to do. Subscribe, leave a comment below so that the algorithm pushes this forward so that I can actually grow the channel. Like I always tell you, this is very, very niche, and it is impossible to grow this thing. It's been hard to grow it. I might stop doing it.
I mean, you've been showing a lot of
Self-defense.
self-defense
A lot of
stuff for
self-defense.
women, a lot for women,
I might start
children.
doing that on YouTube even.
Yeah.
You guys want to see that on YouTube? You don't?
I think it's important for the general public.
That's a good point. So YouTube, you like the MMA stuff? It's not going to be around anymore. It's just going to be women's self-defense on here.
Lower the barrier of entry.
All right? So if you want to see women's self-defense, don't comment. If you're into women's self-defense, don't comment. Subscribe. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Ron, thank you, man.